I wouldn't say I have a company as such yet. I came with an idea, and we're a startup business, so we came with an idea. I work in the sports media industry with a lot of governing bodies, did Commonwealth Games and the European Championships, and I've seen an opportunity for a relationship with athletes directly. So it's not necessarily what you'd say is athlete management, but it is more athlete media profiles. So we looking to work with athletes directly on their profile, create short content, social media, photography, and then moving on to short documentaries direct with the athlete to help them promote themselves, you know, create a bigger audience, and hopefully eventually look towards sponsorship and kind of benefit them longer term. Well, I graduated from Scott Sutherland School in 2012 after 6 years studying architecture. And never ever would I have thought on the day of graduation I'd be back at uni with a business idea that's not architecture. I came out, my mum and dad were like, right, it's time to be an architect, and within 6 months I actually realised I actually don't want to be an architect. I don't like the career it's developed into, I don't like the process, but I love the creative side. So I started doing a lot of video work, a lot of photography, and then started working in the sports sector. And my fiance is based up in Aberdeen, so for me it was a natural progression to move. I was working in the Lake District at the time, back to Aberdeen. And then it was that weird sensation that as soon as you come back into Aberdeen, you actually feel back at home. And then RGU obviously put the application out, and it felt like a natural progression for me to go back. You know, the support was there, and I'd had such a great experience with RGU that I was like, yeah, I feel like they're going to support me on this journey, and I feel like they're actually going to be able to take me from, like, I was 17 when I came to uni. So I was really young, and the difference that I had between, you know, then and graduating was huge. And I thought, if they can do that with my business, then I'm on to, you know, hopefully a good program, a good support staff, and hopefully a viable business. So it was almost like a no-brainer. You know, there's lots of other opportunities, but RGU just feels like home, because you spend so much here, you get to know all the staff. Like, you come back in, you recognise the staff that you studied with, you know, years ago, and they stop in the corridor and ask, how are you? You know, what have you been doing? You know, what's been going on with your life? That you realise that it was only natural to come back here, and for me to continue the business working with RGU it's not really a question. It's just, what's next? You know, once I get this business up and running, how can RGU and me move forward? And, you know, is there a future that they are involved in the project, working, you know, with their athletes and stuff? And for me, it's a fantastic opportunity. So the Accelerator experience has been, I'd say, daunting, scary, but absolutely the most enjoyable time I've had so far. They push you so fast, so quickly, that very quickly on week one I felt so out my depth. You know, we're in a room with 30 people, you know, 20 odd different businesses, and suddenly you realise I don't know a lot of stuff that I thought I did. And Gordon stands up and gives the presentations, and he's got quite a lot of credibility that you think, wow, this guy really knows his stuff, and I need to get from A to B to catch up so quickly. But the support's been there. You know, we meet every couple of weeks on an evening, you know, Tuesday, Thursday, then the following Saturday, which helps working with like a lifestyle, because a lot of us are still working or studying, or, you know, our lecturers, that it fits perfectly. The support's there. You always have your first mentor on the end of the phone to be like, I'm really struggling this week, I've just had a brain fart and I really don't know where I'm going, and they'll sit down with you, get a plan out, and it's lots of little steps that we've been taught to do. So you will be taught, you know, don't try and go from A to B, try to go from A to B in 30 steps. You know, it's little goals, little things that when you look back at, you know, how far we are, we're halfway, well, 2/3 of the way through the program already, that you realise the business has developed so much already, and the idea you had has developed into hopefully a feasible business. So the challenges, I'd say the biggest one's self-doubt. So it seems to be almost like an imposter syndrome, that you can't be the person to do this. You see all these things around the world, people doing stuff, and you're like, how can I be the person to create something new? How can I be something that creates something viral or does something good? And that's been the biggest challenge. It's like having the confidence in yourself to be like, no, I do this on a daily basis. I make video content already, I do photography, I work in the media sector. So there's probably nobody better than myself to actually work with these athletes directly to help them forward. And once you start to get the advice from your first mentors and start to get the support network round about you that the accelerator provides, then you start to realize anybody can do it. It's actually a really thing. And I'd say that leads on to the highlight that the self-confidence, there's a difference between cockiness and and self-confidence. And that's the line of an entrepreneur. It's making sure you have enough confidence to sell yourself, to show yourself as a viable business without coming across too much. And I think that's been the highlight of seeing everyone on the course grow, and then for me starting to think that I might actually have a viable business. Then you meet some external mentors and they're like, this idea is fantastic, we think you have a great product, well, for me, a great service. And they start to get excited, and that's when you start to realize I might have created something here that actually has some potential to move forward into market. Oh, make money. Millionaire, billionaire. What's next for me is to find the right athlete that I want to work with to start creating content. It doesn't have to be the best athlete, it doesn't have to be the highest succeeding athlete. I'm looking for someone with a personality, a character, and for me that is what the business is about. It's about telling stories. So it's myself we have a couple of mentors at the moment that are working on a non-executive director base, and we're looking at finding some co-founders that have the experience in different parts that I don't have, and then getting those first athletes to start making content. As soon as we start making content, we can then test the water, test assumptions, and put it out into the marketplace to see how the public react, how the commercial space react, but also see how the athlete enjoys the experience. Because if we can't keep the athlete happy or work within their existing framework, then the business can't go ahead. Ultimately, it comes back to the athlete's needs and how it reacts within the current space they're in. So once we get that, then we will start looking at, can we generate revenue from this? And if we can generate revenue, it's great if it happens once, but it's still not a viable business. It's only going to work if we can get revenue continuously. These people come back time and time again to really want the product. They want to continue on this journey and they buy into the idea. And if we don't get that, then the business will struggle and we might have to pivot. But if it does work, then we will look at, expanding our base. We don't want to take too many athletes because we want it to be really high quality, and then look at different avenues of where we can start generating additional revenue for the business and the athletes both together. So.